And we are live. I believe we are live. Yes. Hello, Wendy. I'm excited.
Good afternoon, good morning.
Good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's morning somewhere in the world. It's evening somewhere in the world too, actually. It always fascinates me that we are in so many places, but we're all together as one. It's awesome. So welcome to our second expert conversation for Wellness Wednesday. And with me, I have Wendy Tweedie, who is an EFT practitioner. And I'm really excited because EFT, meaning emotional freedom technique, and sometimes otherwise known as tapping. And a lot of people, I know for me, it's been one of my go-tos for many years. And I love this modality because it's so effective and so easy, and also very fast. Like your results can come very quickly in that moment. So I'm really excited to look forward to this conversation. But let me just introduce Wendy for you. And if you're watching, please drop a comment and let us know you're there. We're coming through StreamYard, which doesn't always give us your name. And so if you just tell us who you are and where you're from and say hi, so we know we've got an audience, and it's always exciting to talk to people. And and drop your questions in as we go as well. So I want to introduce this beautiful woman, Wendy, who has a diploma in EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. It's often referred to as tapping, as I said. But Wendy didn't start here. She actually started with a degree in science. And I'm really curious to hear about that. And then she moved into the creative arts. And you can see behind her beautiful calligraphy that's written on the wall. And that is the area that she's been working with for a long time, but is now following her passion for healing and energy medicine. And I know Wendy is a deep diver and a seeker of truth, and also a very talented, she's a multi-talented queen. In the last couple of years, she's learnt the drums and has been singing in a band with her husband, Richard. And that's something that they both share together passionately and enjoy, and a way to give, joy to other people. So today we're going to talk about the power of tapping and how she's used it and how she uses it to help her calm her emotions, and as a tool, and that you can use any given moment, and particularly in what we are all here and what we all actually experience is overwhelm and anxiety. So welcome, Wendy. I'm really excited for you to be here. And I guess my question, Lisa Henry is watching. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for tuning in, and lovely to see you here. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. But Wendy, my first question is, how did you go from science into the energy healing field? Tell us a little bit about you and where your journey started.
Well, that in itself could take half an hour, Jo, so I'll try and keep this really I've been interested in natural healing for a very long time. So since the 90s, which is when I was working in science research. I started off with diet. So, looking at the optimal for physical health. But then I started looking at how the mind can influence physical health. And we all understand, it's been around for decades that stress leads to certain diseases, but it's never been taken that far in the medical field, of course, because it doesn't have the money behind it. But I gradually just got more and more interested in how emotions affect us physically. And I eventually, science was great. It provided me with an income, and it was interesting, and I was having a nice time in the lab. And then I thought, this isn't really who I am. This hasn't got all the answers. It just brings up more and more questions. So I I actually started moving into the arts, thinking that I wanted something to work from home. Should we decide to have kids, it'll be good to have something that I could do from home. And I've got an artistic side to me, so I started looking at that, and then. But all along, I was still very interested in health and healing. And we used to buy organic food, and we used to, go to Whole Food stores. And there was always a newspaper, a free newspaper outside with all the alternative health and healing, the Conscious Expo ads and all the different alternative healers. And I remember one Saturday sitting down, as I did, and just thinking, I'm so confused. There are so many amazing modalities out there, and I'm just confused. Who is the right one? Which is the right one to choose? And then and I thought, how can they all be right? And then it suddenly clicked. And now it's like, duh, it's so obvious to me now, after all this time, that I just suddenly realized they all deal with energy.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter which modality you choose. You just have to choose one that feels right for you, because they are all dealing with the same thing, energy. They're just doing it in different ways. And what resonates with you is what's important. And EFT, that's when I first started just finding ads on EFT. So then we went and lived overseas. And I read the life-changing book for me was Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss, which was using hypnotherapy, but discovering past lives.
Ooh.
And that just lit me up. And I did a hypnotherapy course, and it took a year, and it didn't delve too much into past life regressions, but so I haven't really followed that too much, although it still absolutely fascinates me, and I'm really interested in it. And by the time I'd finished this year-long hypnotherapy course, the following year, the same people who run this course contacted all the students and said, we're doing an EFT workshop. And I'd kind of knew a little bit about EFT, but I thought, okay, I'm going to do this workshop. And it was I think it was actually just, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 days. It was a weekend workshop. And I thought, all right, what am I going to work on? I had a frog phobia at the time. It was quite a decent frog phobia.
Yeah.
And I'd had it since high school, maybe even primary school. I can't quite remember when it started. And so we sat down, worked for maybe 20 minutes on doing the tapping, working on phobia. There were no frogs in the room, so I really didn't know if it had any impact. But a few weeks later, I was going for a walk in a forest with a few people, about 4 people. I was head of the line going through this leafy path, and there was a rumble in the leaves. And I was taken aback, because as you would from a rumble in the leaves, it could have been anything. And I noticed it was a massive toad with a smaller toad on its back. And, they were doing the thing toads do. So I was like, my scientist immediately plugged in, oh, my God, they're in amplexus, which is a sexy name for what toads do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is so fascinating. I've never seen that before. That's amazing. And then I just kept walking. A few months previous to that would never have happened. I would have been frozen on the spot. Someone would have had to piggybacked me out.
Yeah.
But I just kept the lead. And I was afterwards that I realized, holy moly. And ever since then, so that was in 2001. I live in Queensland, Toad Central.
Yeah.
And I haven't been paralyzed by frogs or toads ever since. It's just been
amazing.
I don't love them, let's put it that way, but I'm not.
They're not the prettiest looking things.
it had an impact without me even realizing it.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then that was a while back, over 20 years ago.
Wow. So you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, well, I've been using it a long time. I wasn't doing it in a professional capacity. I was working, still continuing with my art and calligraphy
along the way.
So
yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, obviously, using it ourselves is the first like step to actually being able to support somebody else with it. So, and with that, you've obviously used it in many areas of your life, not just phobias. So let's just talk. Maybe we talk about how EFT works, like through. I know it's all about the meridians and the body energy, and how little bit of science around that, if you wouldn't mind sharing, so people understand why it's so effective.
Well, any therapy, any psychotherapy that doesn't include the body is going to be like. Now, can I just ask? Am I allowed to swear in this?
Absolutely. This is a private group. I mean,
swearing it can be an important part of this therapy if that's part of who you are. But really, doing any kind of psychotherapy without including the body, so it has to be somatic, including the body, is like pushing shit uphill.
Yeah. Oh, that's a swear? Is it a swear word?
Not anymore. No. I liken it to a pressure cooker on a stove top. It's great if you need to vent. Venting is the same. Talk therapy and venting I put in the same category. They let off pressure for a while, but the fire underneath the pot is still there. And I like to think that EFT turns the fire out, or at least brings it right down, so that we don't have it. Actually turns the fire out when you get it, when you hit the nail on the head.
Yes.
So we don't have that continual build up of pressure, because I don't know. Yeah. You sometimes come across people who like to vent to you, and they call it venting because it sounds better than just complaining.
Yeah.
But they vent about the same thing every few weeks.
Yeah.
Or every few months.
Nothing changes.
The same story. And I'm guilty of that too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But nothing changes. So so we're basically combining the body holds our subconscious. Okay. This is something which most people who are listening probably realize, is that every cell in our body holds all of our subconscious memory. This is where it's at. So the body keeps the score. I've heard that before. So what we're doing is we're literally tapping in to our meridians while we are focusing on an issue. So we're not pushing an issue aside to keep it positive. We need to bring that issue up into the conscious mind. And we're working with our conscious mind, but we are also working with our subconscious mind. So the talking is like the conscious stuff coming through, and the tapping is taking it into the subconscious. And it's there are so many levels that we can work at, and it's just so fascinating how our body and our subconscious works. And
how deep you can go.
So we're basically getting this energy flow correct. We're correcting incorrect energy flows. And those incorrect energy flows have happened because we've had a thought about something that has been, it's our perception of something that has then created a program. It has changed our energy flow in relation to that thing. Our whole physiology changes in relation to that thing, and we are correcting the energy and the physiology while thinking about that thing. So it is no longer a trigger for us. We don't have to keep avoiding it. We don't have to keep pushing it down.
Yes. I love that explanation, and particularly how the fire and how you can bring that, dim that fire down. But the other thing I noticed when tapping, when I used to do a lot of tapping before I found frequency healing, and it was my go-to, I loved it, and is that it actually brings you back into the present moment too. So you're not focused on all the other things. It's like this one central thing you're focusing on, so you're not distracted by everything else. So the bringing it back into the consciousness, I guess, and that present moment awareness is really paramount, isn't it, to be able to shift what's coming up. And I find it fascinating when you're talking it through. What comes up is just like, whoa, where did that come from, right? Because you don't know on the conscious level, but because it's stored in the unconscious, it actually flows to the surface, like you said. So beautiful way to explain that. So is there a way that you specific, like a lot of people, there's a lot of practitioners, and I've experienced different ways. Is there any specific, there's no right or wrong way, I know that. So we can't get this wrong, right?
You can't get it wrong. The worst that can happen is that nothing will happen. So if you get it wrong, it just means that nothing will change. But you certainly won't hurt yourself or go backwards.
Yeah.
And I will go through some of the possible pitfalls as to why it might not be working, because certainly I've done stuff on myself and I finish and go, and I wonder what did I miss? So there are definitely things, and that's why language is so important. That's why I asked if I could swear, because sometimes that's what cuts through the BS.
And what comes up, right? Yeah.
And
So
we have to give ourselves permission to do the things that we have maybe been told we're never allowed, and say the things that we've never allowed ourselves to say, because it's been someone else has told us you're not allowed to say that, you're not allowed to think that, you're not allowed to feel that.
Yep.
So, and as brought up as a with those lots of guilt, I know I had to really cut through some stuff and be really brutally honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And go defaulting back to those places. And like anything, right, it's a practice. It's a practice. It's about continuing to do it over and over and over until you get the result, right?
Well, I think in some cases you can cut to the chase straight away, and an issue that could be long-standing could dissolve. But that's not always going to happen. So you can start on the surface and gradually work your way down. And that's the beauty of this as well, is that you don't have to go into trauma.
No.
You can work on level by level by level and just slowly do what you're ready to do.
Yes.
So it can be a very gentle process.
Yes.
I am, after all this time, I'm quite happy to go straight there.
Yes.
So
I think when people have done a lot of work on themselves, like
not afraid to go.
Yeah, not afraid. We're deep divers. We'll just, let's just get to the root and let's just clear this. But when you're starting out, so important to just trust yourself and allow yourself, because your mind will not take you anywhere that it's not meant to go. It's there to protect you. And the reason that we often default back to those old ways, those old patterns and programs, is because you're not ready yet. Okay. And when you bring the awareness of that into it, then gently it'll allow you to let go and let it naturally unfold. So I love that piece that you bring into it. But did you want to talk about the pitfalls of?
Yeah. So one of them is that you're not being honest with yourself, as I've just said. So for example, one thing that I found very difficult when I was going on this journey is I used to struggle with conversations in my head with my mum. And I'd find myself vacuuming the house and having these arguments in my head with my mum. They didn't even exist. I was creating all of this because we just had this kind of relationship. And I this was in a different therapy, but it is exactly the same for EFT. And the therapist said, you've got to be able to say, I hate my mum. You're allowed to say that. This is a safe space. but boy, was that hard to do.
Yeah.
And this is something that is just not allowed in our society to be able to say that. But as soon as you allow yourself to be really honest and say, I hate my mum, and it's okay, and I'm okay. I'm still okay. And then if you allow yourself, because when you allow what's really down there to come up, then you bring it into the open and heal it.
Yes.
And it's okay. It's okay to hate your mum for a while, and then it heals. And then you recognize, she's just a human being as well. And then you're able to forgive. It's much easier to forgive as well, because you start to see where they're coming from. And it's a process. But so one of them is to be really honest with yourself and to be able to say things that you wouldn't ordinarily say, like, the swearing, it's you got to allow yourself to be in a safe space. You're okay to swear, to cuss, to say all those things that you wouldn't normally say. So words are really important in this. One of the pitfalls is that we're not using the right words, and we could it just be something that's framed just slightly different. It's saying exactly the same thing. But if you find the right words, suddenly you'll feel it. You'll feel it in your body.
Yeah, I felt that when you said that. It's not so much about the words that you say or you say about that person or your mum in this situation. It's about the emotion that you feel, the anger that's coming up, and then then tapping into that anger, because that anger could have been carried through from generations, right? It's not even your mum's. She may have brought it with her, but it's the actual feeling of that. And that's a really good point. I love that. Yeah.
So you can talk around it. You can say, "Oh, I'm so angry with my mum," or you can say, "Oh, I was so upset by that conversation with my mum," and all of those things are valid. But we're trying to avoid getting around saying, "I hate my mum."
Yes, and letting that feeling, the emotion come out. Yeah,
really allowing yourself to feel what you are trying to hold down as a good girl or a good boy or whatever.
Yeah. So suppressing is so damaging. Sorry,
And don't be afraid of it, and don't be guilty. Or you could, if it doesn't matter if you feel guilty, then you can tap on the guilt around hating your mum. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all okay.
Yeah. But hate is one of those things. It's like, oh, you're not allowed to hate.
It's like
you're just denying that truth that's within you, and then you can bring it up and the hate will disappear.
Yeah, because as a little child, when we get told, oh, hate is it's not a very good word. We don't use that word, and all the things we get told as children about that. When as children, we don't understand what even that word means. So then it already starting to embed in us the programming that we are bad for saying those things, right? So there's a lot of layers to work through, isn't there, when we're working with the tapping?
But it also can work on a superficial level, which is absolutely valid also, because sometimes we just need enough to get ourselves moving. To get ourselves into the day or doing what it is that we need to do. And then we can revisit it at a later time and keep, as I say, it's the onion skin.
Yes.
We work on it in different levels. And work physical pain, because as probably everyone watching here knows, physical pain is a manifestation of emotional pain. So
I love that. That's so important to acknowledge. Thank you, Wendy. So is there anything, like, we're going to do a demonstration today, right? And I think that's going to be really important and powerful. But before we go there, was there something else you wanted to cover specifically around, tapping, anxiety, overwhelm, all the stuff, all the emotions that we feel? And you just mentioned pain as well. And I know that, people use it for that. I've seen some incredible results with pain. And so is there something more, or do you want to go straight into the demonstration?
I'll go
You
to
can,
the demonstration soon because we don't have much time left. But what I wanted to say was that I consider it something, you were saying it's something that we have to keep doing. And that's true. And I consider it like emotional hygiene. So every day, if we can do something to clean up our emotional body, then it's just like brushing our teeth or having a shower. And it's great to do in the shower, actually. There's something about the shower that opens up the emotional body, isn't it? And I think it's like lots of water tapping all over the body.
Yes.
But,
yes. And just, you know, when you're having a shower, it's like, oh, it's like having a bath. It's like bathing in that shower, and it's really relaxing. And I think we have to get ourselves into that place of relaxation before we can even access, you know, what's going on sometimes, because we're so busy in our minds. Yeah.
Well, relaxation is a really important part of, like, that somatic thing. Relaxing the body, relaxing every part of our body is also working into the body. And that's when our subconscious can start to, it's like with the hypnotherapy. That's why you go into this very relaxed state so that we can access the subconscious. Absolutely. And it's getting every single cell to relax and allow.
Opening to receiving.
And feel safe. That relaxation is when you feel safe to start doing the deeper work.
Absolutely. And on that, I wanted to say something just before I forget. Like, well, actually, no, I'll wait. Just remind me. I'll wait till we do the demonstration, because I think it's more relevant to that. And just remind me about that, because I think it's important. But you keep going. Yeah.
Okay. So, we can start doing a demonstration now if you wish.
Oh, yes.
So we'll just do a global demonstration on overwhelm. And I'm just going to do this very organically, because that's how I work. Whatever comes up for me will come up for me with overwhelm.
Yep.
So overwhelm typically feels like we are out of control, a lack of control in our life.
Yep.
There's just too much to do. So I'm not sure. Do I need to describe this for people who aren't?
I think that'd be good to point out the points and where we're tapping. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Yep.
So I can describe them so that people who are just listening in can get an idea. So we start with something called the setup, which is a phrase that we use that focuses on both the problem but also our acceptance of ourselves. So, and we do that by taking, I usually take all 4 of my fingers on my one hand, and sides don't matter. You can tap on either side of the body. It makes no difference. So I take the 4 main fingers of one hand and I tap on the side of my other hand between my pinky and my wrist. So that fleshy part, which we call the karate chop point. And I use all of those because the point is somewhere in there, but we just make sure we get it if we use all of our fingers from one hand and tap on the side of the other. So let's use the setup statement. So I don't know if people want to write this down or not, but I will provide information on my website. You can go to my website and find all of this information. So let's do the setup statement. So we start with, even though, and you can repeat after me, Joe, if you like. Everyone can repeat after me. Even though I feel overwhelmed right now.
I feel overwhelmed right now.
I deeply and completely accept myself. And if you're in a place to say love and accept myself, feel free to do that.
To love and accept myself. Yeah.
So we do this setup statement 3 times, and I'm going to keep it the same all 3 times for ease of remembering. Even though I have all of this overwhelm, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. If it feels wrong to say love and accept myself, just say accept myself.
Mm-hmm.
Last time, even though I am overwhelmed right now,
I'm overwhelmed right now,
I deeply and completely accept myself.
accept myself.
Now, we start on our tapping points on the body. So the first one is at the very top of the head. And again, I tend to use all 4 fingers, the tips of my fingers.
Yep.
I'm overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed.
If you feel like breathing, breathe. I've got to take my glasses off because they get in the way. But so the second point is just on the inside of the eyebrow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed.
The third point is to the right side, or the outside of the eyebrow, to the side of your eye, near your temple, but just on the bone there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed.
The next one is under the eye. I am overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed.
Under the nose, just above your lips, between your nose and your lip, in the midline there. This overwhelm.
This overwhelm.
Below the mouth, on your chin. I feel so overwhelmed right now.
I feel so overwhelmed right now.
Now the collarbone point. So I'll just describe that. So you've got your collarbone and you've got your sternum coming down the middle of your chest. And it's just inside the corner of that corner that creates. So it's just in the soft fleshy bit inside that corner. This overwhelm.
This overwhelm.
And the last point, well, I won't say the last point yet. Under the arm, which is also called for the ladies, the bra strap point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on the side of the body under your arm. I'm overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed.
Now you can add, if you wish, tap your wrists together, and that covers a whole lot of other meridians that run down to the fingers.
Wow.
Through the arm.
Yep.
I'm overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed.
And the last one I like to do is I hold my wrist in a circle around my wrist. I breathe in and out, and as I'm breathing out, I say, peace.
Peace.
So that's one round of tapping. You do the setup point once.
Yep.
But you repeat it 3 times. But then you can do the rounds of tapping as often as you need. Now, I've only done 1 round of tapping to address overwhelm. Once we've done that, we would start moving into more defined, specific overwhelm issues.
Yeah.
And then we would start moving into the positive. So that can also be enough. This 1 round can be enough to just help bring it down a notch.
Calm the nervous system.
Just calming the physiology down.
Yeah, okay.
Then we start to move into getting a bit more specific about where this overwhelm is coming from.
Yeah.
Then we go into the positive. So would you like me to do a positive round for anyone who's sort of left a little bit overwhelmed?
Yes, please.
So
we've brought it to the surface, and I personally know that when I continue tapping, I find information comes through that is more positive. Is that what you experience?
Yes. I find information comes through that explains the overwhelm a little bit more. And then I can work into that, and then it's easy to go into this. So I'm just going to go into the positive.
Yep.
So so we're going straight back to the top of the head. Why am I so overwhelmed?
Why am I so overwhelmed?
Am I the only one who feels this?
Am I the only one who feels this?
Am I the only one who is out of control?
Am I the only one who is out of control?
Everyone else seems to have their shit together.
Everyone else seems to have their shit together.
Is it true?
Is that true?
Is it true that I'm the only person who's overwhelmed?
Is it true that I'm the only person who's overwhelmed?
Oh, sorry, I'm down to the collarbone point. I need to make sure I
Okay.
let everyone guide people. I'm sure other people are overwhelmed too.
I'm sure other people are overwhelmed too.
And I'm sure there are little things I can do about this.
And I'm sure there are little things I can do about this.
I know there are things, sorry, top of the head. I know there are things I can do about this.
I know there are things that I can do about this.
Side of the eye. And I'm actually okay.
And I'm actually okay.
Side of the eye. I can deal with it.
I can deal with it.
Under the eye. One step at a time.
One step at a time.
Under the nose. And I'm okay.
And I'm okay.
Under the mouth, chin point. I'm okay just as I am.
I'm okay just as I am.
Collarbone. I just need to take one small step in the right direction.
I just need to take one small step in the right direction.
Under the arm. And everything will start to flow again.
And everything will start to flow again.
Wrist points. Tap your wrists together. And I'm okay.
And I'm okay. I can feel that releasing.
And hold on to your wrist. Big deep breath in. Peace.
Peace. Feeling peace. Do you know, it's just such an immediate effect when you do that. And how long it took was like a few minutes, not even, like to really make that time to tap in and tap in. I was talking about this morning in the group for Empowered You group that I do on a Wednesday morning, and I shared that we'd be talking about this today, and using it was all around intuition and using your intuition. And what I shared was that, you know, tapping is actually a modality that can take you to that place that you are actually accessing your intuition, that you are being guided by, and because it's getting you into that space. Like anyone watching doing this, you know, let me know if you know how you feel after doing the tapping, because it is evident. It's quite obvious from where I was 5 minutes ago to where I am now with talking to Wendy, and how much more I'm in my body. Does that make sense? So I would love to hear other people's experience as you do the tapping process. Thank you, Wendy. It's so profound and so immediate. Like, this is what I want to emphasize. It's so immediate. If anyone would like to access more information, Wendy's going to pop her website into the links after our session today, so that you can maybe find the scripts that she offers, and also connect with Wendy and have a session, do a session, a proper, you know, session around specifically, so that you can learn to use this at the drop of a hat whenever you need to. And the thing I wanted to say before that I said I'll wait till the end to say is, when you get, I guess, just the word proficient or proficient at it, when you proficient, you know it well. Like, I've used it at night when I haven't been able to sleep, and sometimes I remember to tap, and then other times I see myself tapping, if that makes sense. So I imagine myself in my mind's eye, because sometimes you're half asleep and you're not going to sleep, and you're too lazy to move, you know, at those godly hours. Yeah. I just visualize myself tapping those points and saying to myself, it's okay, you are safe, you are calm. And I think that's what I meant about no right or wrong, you know, because you can even imagine doing the tapping if you're in an environment like that, surrounded by people, and you're having an anxiety attack and you don't feel like you can actually do this right in front of people. Like, I think I'm weird, what am I doing? And I get that all the time because I am. But you know what I mean? Like, we're different, we're unique, we're doing the things that are going to make the most difference in our lives. So just know that you can imagine yourself doing it.
Yeah, and even just choosing one point. If you're in a crowd or something, you can just choose one point. And I actually have a point that isn't part officially of the tapping round, but I often find just tapping my breastbone.
Yeah.
It just it really just relaxes, because that's often where my anxiety shows up, or if I'm stressed or whatever, that's where it shows up, and it just releases things. And sometimes, you can sort of get away with that. Or you can sort of get away with, maybe I'll just tap my chin.
Yeah, thinking. Yeah. So just choose one point if you can, if you're somewhere, and because it'll just bring your focus into that. But I love what you say about the heart, because this space here is often where we do feel really, we close off. It's an energetic thing. We just shut down. So doing this can open the heart and connect you with, because there's coherence too between the heart and the mind, right? And just breathing with the heart is, calming the mind. So there's so many things, right? And as I say, we can't get it wrong. No. Because it's about the intention that we're putting behind it. So I really love what you brought to the table today, because I love tapping. I love the way it makes you feel and calming everything down. And so if anyone has any questions at all, please, Wendy's details will be in the comments. Be sure to check her website and pull up the scripts, because I'm sure there's different ones for different for pain, for instance, and things like that. If you're
I don't have scripts on my website, but I do have the points and the setup, so you can start to set up. But it is, yeah.
And as I said, you can say whatever, but reach out and get a session with Wendy, because she'll take you through the script in a sense. You know what? She'll tune in and be able to support you in what you're going through. If tapping resonates with you, which I think everybody should have it in their toolbox.
Yeah, there are a lot of great people online with YouTube, with tapping channels and things like that, which is great. But at some point, and that will be a great place to get you started and learning the process. But at some point, it's good to understand how to get it specific to yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because those will be words that those people have come up with, and they will be set scripts. But we need to make it specific to ourselves.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Any last words of wisdom before we close, Wendy?
It's very much about accepting oneself. Coming to the process of accepting oneself. That's a really big part of it. So it's a lifelong process.
Yeah.
And every day life is giving us new lessons to learn from. So don't be discouraged. It's just a case of keeping going.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for your time and wisdom and everything you shared today. And if anyone has any questions, be sure to pop them in the comments or reach out to Wendy. And she's in our beautiful group, so she'll be around to talk to at any time. But thank you from the bottom of my heart and my soul. Mwah. And to our audience.
I love what you do.
Oh, thank you, hon. You're so welcome. And we'll talk to you real soon. Bye for now, everyone.